Well, here we are, in the great outdoors. Hi, welcome to Lesbiature. I decided for once in my life to be like everybody else and hop on board the 6-month wrap-up thing. And what better way to do that, visually, than be outside during July in Tennessee. It is humid, it is muggy, it is disgusting, but it is nature, and we must endure. This is about to be very interesting, I think. I am in some kind of salty mood because girls can be mean. Man, they're great. Love them. Gotta love them. So we're in a mood, and I'm sweating in the knee pits. Okay. I feel the need to restate something I have said before. I am a fairly new reader. I mean, I've known how to read many years now. But it's only very recently that I have started to enjoy it. So, last year, I'm not going to be embarrassed. I'm going to show no emotion at all when I tell you that last year I read 8 books. She has a YouTube channel devoted to reading. Oh, goodness. Well, I can delightfully say that we have done way better this year so far. In 6 months, I have surpassed all of last year. Also, I feel like I take big hiatuses when I'm writing. It's a balance. It's all a balance, and you all know that. Okay, so when I announce to you how many books I have read in these past 6 months, please do not... I love this. I love everything about this. Good gracious. The sweat in between my knees. And girls are mean. Okay. So yes, the total number of books I've read in these past 6 months, thankfully is greater than 8. It's even greater than 10. But I watched some booktubers who talk about the 30-something books that they've read in 6 months, and that's wild to me. Okay, I'm a growing human. Give me a break. I am growing. The numbers are there. The math adds up. We are growing, okay? But it's still, we're still a baby. Okay, so I read 11 books in these past 6 months. Which, when I look at it, like, I feel pretty good about that. For me, knowing me, we're good with that, okay? So I'm planning on hitting a good 25 by the end of the year. This sounds so fucking bad. So the first book that I read this year, I did a whole video on it. You know it well. The Fat Boy, Priory of the Orange Tree, Samantha Shannon. I have yet to read the sequel. I will tell you when I read the sequel, because that will be an ordeal. I did a whole video on this, and if you need to watch that piece of art, there's the link. Also, apparently, I don't say like and subscribe enough. Apparently, people only tend to actually do that when you actually say it in the video. I honestly don't subscribe to that idea of thought, because when I like a channel, I subscribe to it. You don't have to tell me to. I really don't know at what point the majority of people like a video, so... People, do you need to be asked? I'm not going to ask you to. If you like it, okay? Golly, we're salty. Girls are great. They suck. There's no drama, okay? Before I have to answer that question, there's literally nothing happening in my love life right now. There's literally zero drama, and I think that's why I'm making drama. So, this book, this was a sojourn. This was an endeavor. That I said in that video, I don't regret it. There are things I would have liked to have happened differently, particularly the antagonists. The antagonists were all talk, really. So we thought they would be powerful, and then they're just kind of not. And the romance is not heavy at all. What is here, I liked. I enjoyed. But this is not a romance book. This is a fantasy. And the thing I will praise it on is the world building. It is the history. It's the lore. There's definitely some good, heavy lore in here. It's not heavy. I'm literally reading the Lord of the Rings right now. It's not heavy lore. But it's good. It's well thought out. It feels like an expansive world. There's that. I have not read the prequel, and it is supposed to be better than this one, so I should read it. I should get to it. You're right. I'd like to lay the whole fact that I only read 11 books up until now on the fact that this was one of the books. Okay, give me that, please. That being said, I am one book in to The Lord of the Rings. I grew up, my dad was a big fan of the films, and so I grew up with them in the house. I'm a big fan of the films. Honestly, I blame them for making me a filmmaker. Love The Lord of the Rings. But I've never read the books, and I was talking to a friend about how he read the books before he saw the movies, and I was just kind of jealous. I don't like being someone who calls themselves a fan when I haven't read the books. So I took a road trip to Asheville for a film festival earlier this year, and I listened to more than half of this book, but then I read probably the last quarter of it. And maybe now's a good time to mention that out of my 11 books, only 2 of them I've given 5 stars. This is actually not one of them. This is it's like a 4 for me, I think. There is so much sitting happening. And I love the lore, I love the history, I love reading about it, but there are definitely chunks of this where it is, you must push through it. Because you don't have a reason to care about anything he's talking about yet. And especially, I can't imagine going into this knowing nothing. Because I think what really got me through those parts was knowing that it was going to actually go somewhere. And Tom Bombadil. Good old Tom Bombadil. What the fuck was that about? That being said, I am about halfway through The Two Towers right now. And I am loving The Two Towers a good deal more than Fellowship. And I feel like just a better fan. I feel like a better human being having read this one. So I feel like I'm going to feel great having read the whole trilogy. I also went ahead and bought, a little prematurely, the Silmarillion and also the Children of Hurin, however you say it, which I'm very excited for that one. I'm less excited for the Silmarillion, but I also want to brag about the fact that I've read it. Next, let's talk about The Dark Tide by Alicia Jasinska. The Dark Tide was a book I picked up solely based on premise. There's this city that is threatened to be flooded once every year unless the magical witches sacrifice somebody that they have feelings for to the flood to satiate it. And it is a sapphic story, so the witch, against her will of course, falls in love with a girl who tries to save the boy that is supposed to be the sacrifice. Wow, that sounded very convoluted and probably makes no sense. The premise was really fun and there were parts of this book that I really enjoyed, but I think the whole thing just felt a little bit flat for me. It's probably like a 3.5 star book for me. I didn't care about some of the characters as much as I wanted to. And the romance itself also just felt a little hollow. But it was a fun read, and it was a quick read. The text is largely spaced, so it's actually not a very long book at all. It was a good time. Even though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk? C.L. Polk? This was a gift from a friend, a beautiful friend, who wanted to say that she supported me in this channel, so she gave me this sapphic story, and I love her for it. This was a lot of fun. It's super short. It's about kind of like a supernatural detective. So it's witchcrafty. It's got an air of mystery to it. So this woman is, she has a due date. She has sold her soul, but she's in love with this woman. So when a deal comes up to extend her due date, if she solves this, is it a murder mystery? I honestly can't remember. To solve this mystery, the powers at hand will extend her due date so that she can continue with the woman that she loves. I think I'd give it like a 4 star. Very short, and I think I read it in one sitting. It was just a lot of fun, and if that's your thing, if you like mysteries or murder mysteries, and if you like spell casting, witchcrafty things, I think that would be right up your alley. While we're talking about magical gay women, let's talk about Carmilla. Carmilla is, if you don't know, it is the vampiric story that precedes Dracula. 1871. Holy cow. It is sapphic in nature, but it's complicated in that Carmilla the vampire is trying to seduce the girl that she's feeding off of. So the way that this played in 1871 was that the evil character was sapphic, so therefore being gay was up there with being evil, right? But I'm pleased to say that aside from the evil character, the bad guy, like sexuality they didn't really shine much of a negative light on it aside from that fact. This isn't like a book to be triggered by. I was not triggered by this. This is an edited version. It's also illustrated. I have not read the actual version. Apparently it is a bit thick. It's a bit dense in prose, kind of hard to read. I thought I was getting the actual version when I bought this. I didn't realize it was an edited version. I wouldn't say this is anything profound. I wouldn't say this is like a must-read or anything. But again, if these are themes that you enjoy, if you enjoy vampiric stories, gothic tales, this was a lot of fun. It was a good read. There were spooky moments in here, actually, now that I'm remembering. Like 3.5, maybe. I wish there had been more to it, I think. If you have interest in this, I think it's worth a read. Gearbreakers and Godslayers. I made a video where I talk about this duology and also Crier's War, which I read several years ago. So I'll also keep this one pretty short. If anything sparks your interest, I would definitely recommend go watching that video to learn a little bit more about it. Gearbreakers is a sci-fi romance about the city of Godalia, which is a tyrannical city, not a fun place to be, but the outskirts of Godalia are where all of these Gearbreakers live. So we have these giant mecha units and their pilots, which Godalia sends out into these outskirts to kind of keep everything in check, at bay, you know. But in these outskirts, we have these rebels called Gearbreakers that have devoted their lives into breaking into these units and tearing them apart from the inside out, in hopes of kind of breaking down Godalia from the inside out. There are parts of this that read a lot like The Hunger Games, that reminded me a lot of scenes from The Hunger Games, and also just kind of the writing style in general felt a lot like Suzanne Collins. It's so action-heavy that there are parts in here that got a little confusing, I think because the action is so big, and the romance is like top tier. I adore their relationship together. It's enemies to lovers. They have the type of relationship where they bicker and kind of fight with each other, and I love that. That's my love language. The sequel, to me, matched and surpassed the first book. They're both 4-star books to me. The stories are really good, and the characters are really good. It's found family as well, so if that's up your alley. Ranger's Apprentice. There is a lovely booktuber, Cassandra Lynn Reeds, who's a friend of mine, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cass, but I think this is one of her favorite books of all time. I think she has this book in an obscene amount of different languages. But I found this at a book fair for $1, and I texted her, and I was like, should I get it? So I read it. I read Ranger's Apprentice for $1. This is a YA fantasy about a young boy who is training to be a ranger. Big surprise, right? Ranger's Apprentice. It's a lot of fun. I had a really good time with this. The characters were really enjoyable. I don't see myself seeking out the sequels to this, but if I come across them in a store, I'll probably pick them up. It was a really easy read, and it's one that I was motivated to finish. I wanted to see how it all played out. So, did you hear that, Cass? I liked it. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about my 2 5-star reads so far. She Who Became the Sun. I loaned it to a friend, so I don't have it right now, but this is the sequel, so I need something to hold, so I'm going to hold up the sequel, which I haven't read yet. But She Who Became the Sun, oh, there it is on the back. Shelley Parker Chan. Holy cow. I ate that book. I tore that book a new one. I ate that book up. She Who Became the Sun is about a young girl who is destined to become nothing, or so she is told. So when her brother dies, it's not spoilers, this is like the first 2 chapters, okay? Her brother dies, and she takes his name, takes his place, goes to a monastery, and pretends to be her brother in order to secure what he's been fated for. A fortune teller told her brother that he was going to have a great destiny, and that basically she was going to be nothing. So she's trying to trick fate by being her brother, But of course, also she's secured probably a better life for herself because this is 1300s China. It feels like China, and it's the 1300s, so it's very similar in the fact that she probably would have had a harder life than her brother. So because she's pretending to be him, she not only has opportunities laid out before her more than she would have, but I feel like she's also more empowered to go after those opportunities. So it's really a story about being the master of your own fate and deciding your own path in life. And I think that story came at a good time in my own life. So I ate it up. And it's written so masterfully. Like from page 1, you just know you're in really good hands. And you settle in because you know that a really good story is coming your way. And that's exactly what fucking happens. So She Who Became the Sun was my first 5-star read this year. I have not gotten into this yet, just because I've had other things further up on my TBR. But I am really excited to return to this world and this character. It is also a sapphic story. There's a lot of gender commentary as well, but it is sapphic in the fact that she, in moments, still feels very much like a girl and enjoys her sapphic relationship with another girl that she meets. Oh, saved you there. Okay. Definitely check that one out. I adored it. Okay. My other 5-star read, I Who Have Never Known Men. Kind of seen how this has been blowing up, like in the last year or so. I did not realize it was written in the 90s and in French, so it's been translated. But I believe that Jacqueline Harpman died in 2012, which makes me so sad to think that any artist doesn't get to see their work in its future limelight. Very much, Van Gogh style. But at the same time, I'm also really, really happy that this has gotten attention because I never would have picked this up if it hadn't. This feels very much like something that would be like required reading in school. I feel like a better human for having read it. It's a story about a girl who grows up in a cage, basically, with 39 other older women. And all of these older women know life on the outside, but this girl is growing up knowing nothing of the outside world. And to save you from spoilers, there's so much more I could say about this, but I really don't want to spoil it for you because I really enjoyed knowing nothing about this and reading it. And I'd love for you to have the same experience. It's very short. I read it in 2 nights, and there were moments near the end that like made my jaw drop. It's so fascinating when a book can do that to you. There's not really a heavy plot to this, so the fact that it got my jaw to drop in parts is kind of miraculous. It doesn't feel like this book has any kind of agenda. Like if I tried to pinpoint metaphors or themes about life that it was trying to talk about, have a commentary about, I don't think that I could. It presents so many questions to you about life, about your place in life, and what it means to have meaning in life. What do you need in order for your life to be meaningful? What commodities do you require to be appeased in life? Those were kind of the big questions I walked away from this with. I read this last week and I have not stopped thinking about it. It has an afterword, and this is honestly one of the few books where as soon as I finished the book, I went straight into the afterword because I just needed to know somebody else's thoughts. This is a book that is not trying to answer anything for you, and I respect the hell out of that. It presents you questions, and it leaves you with those questions. It gives the audience complete control over their own answers to these questions. So this 10 stars, like, and there are parts in here that are uncanny. They're eerie and creepy. Like, it's not scary. I sat up late at night reading this. It's not a kind of book that will keep you awake at night in a scary sense, maybe in a existential sense. But there are parts that just kind of make your skin crawl a little bit. And I think that's so cool. Can't say enough about this. Can't sing its praises enough. There's one book that I don't have with me. My sister loaned me Annihilation, which being a a film nerd. I'd seen the movie, Alex Garland's movie. Wasn't the biggest fan of the movie, so I didn't have a lot of expectations going into the book. But the book blew the movie out of the water. I mean, typically that happens, right? But like, bar none. The book also, this book was super uncanny and creepy at times. It edges a little bit more into like sci-fi horror. I wouldn't say it was like a particularly philosophical journey because it was sci-fi. It was based on things that aren't in our own reality. But as far as like ways of thinking goes, I'm getting way too deep for this video, aren't I? I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. There's lots of mysterious elements and lots of questions and clues and puzzles. And it's just a good, unsettling story. A lot of fun. It's strange to say because this is also, I would also call parts of this sci-fi. But I feel like all of the questions it poses are about human nature. And maybe you could say the same thing for Annihilation. You could. I just feel like you wouldn't read those 2 books for the same reason. I think you'd read this for philosophy, and you would read Annihilation for more for entertainment. Okay, we're nearing the end, I promise. In fact, we are pretty much at the end. That's 11. Those were my 11 books, and I loved all of them differently, but all them. There was one book that I DNF'd, which pains me to say because I'm a completionist, and if I start something, I prefer to finish it. Ray Bradbury, The Martian Chronicles. I didn't know this book existed until a few months ago. At that same book sale that I got, The Ranger's Apprentice, my sister and I both bought a copy of this for $1 and thought it'd be fun to just kind of read together. So we did. The first half of this was immaculate. Had a great time. Super fun, super mysterious. It's about moving to Mars and trying to inhabit Mars. But of course, there are Martians already on Mars. And it kind of plays out like a Twilight movie. Like there are twists and turns that just keep you on your toes, and it's really fun. But then things just started to really start dying down around the middle. And I was talking to my sister about it. My sister sped through it. She finished it. Good for her. But she told me, yeah, the last half just tanked. And that has like destroyed any motivation I have to finish this. I don't know if I'm going to pick this back up. It might not be worth it, but it also really pains me to not finish a book. That feels like a travesty to art. I am currently reading. I'm halfway through The Two Towers, and I have started a new book. I Love You So Much It's Killing Us Both, which has been very different, very stylistic, but I'm enjoying it. I have also just started The Song of Achilles, which I got 3 chapters through that and decided I need to video myself reading that because I think it's gonna rip my heart apart. I think it's gonna send me down a flight of stairs crying. And honestly, I hope it does. And it's gay, so yes. Okay, so that was my mid-year. It could have been better. It could have been a lot worse. It's usually, in fact, up until now, it has always been worse. That's how you know you're growing, kids. The fact that it's never been better. I hope it gets a lot better. Okay, you gay kids. Get out of here. Go read something. Typically, I stand up out of the shot. I really don't want to. I'm still in it, aren't I? Let me go this way.